It's so good to be with you today. I believe you didn't show up by accident. You didn't click this message by mistake. Something in your heart is hungry for more. More direction, more strength, more clarity. And I want you to know you're in the right place. I believe today is a divine setup. You may not have all the answers. You may feel like you've hit a dead end. Or maybe you're wondering why certain things happened the way they did. But I came to remind you, your story is not random, it's not broken, it's not over. Your story is being written by God. You see, the author of your life knows exactly what he's doing. He's not winging it. He's not making it up as he goes. Every detour, every delay, every closed door, it's all part of a bigger plot. And if you'll keep moving forward in faith, you'll see how he turns every page with purpose. You may not understand the chapter you're in right now, but the next one could change everything. There are moments in life that don't make sense. Times when things fall apart, when dreams seem delayed, when the people we counted on walk away. We wonder why we had to go through that loss, why that relationship didn't work out, why the job opportunity we were praying for closed its doors. It's easy to question everything when we're stuck in a hard season. But what we don't always realize is that what feels like a mess is often the very material God uses to build something meaningful. What seems like wasted time is never wasted in His hands. You may be walking through a time that feels unfair, uncomfortable, or unclear. Maybe you're in a chapter of rebuilding, of waiting, and you're tempted to believe that this doesn't fit in the story you hoped for. But nothing is accidental. Not one tear has been ignored. Not one setback is without direction. Sometimes we think the difficult places in our lives are detours, and in reality, they are doorways. Doorways to growth, to maturity, to compassion, to strength we didn't even know we had. The same valley you feel stuck in today could become the valley that deepens your faith and sharpens your vision. When we look back at our lives, we often see how the painful moments ended up pushing us to become more. That rejection forced us to discover a new passion. That betrayal taught us how to discern. That closed door led us to the right one. But while we're in the moment, it's hard to connect the dots. That's when trust has to kick in. That's when you have to lean on something greater than your understanding and believe that the one writing your story knows what he's doing, even when the scene looks dark. Some of the most powerful moments of transformation happen in the middle of discomfort. You don't learn resilience in seasons of ease. You don't learn forgiveness without offense. You don't discover peace until you've been through storms. Just like a great novel, the plot becomes more compelling when the characters face trials, when they're pushed beyond their limits, when they have to choose to rise above. The same is true with your life. You're not being broken. You're being built. You're not being buried. You're being planted. Think about the people who inspire us the most. They're not the ones who never faced adversity. They're the ones who went through it and came out stronger. Their strength wasn't handed to them. It was forged in fire. The very struggles that tried to take them out became the soil for their greatest victories. It's not always easy to see in real time, but often the greatest blessings are born from the deepest battles, and your life is no exception. Sometimes we want to skip the difficult parts. We want to fast forward to the triumph, the celebration, the resolution. But it's in the process where the real treasures are found. It's in the waiting that endurance is built. It's in the disappointment that perspective shifts. It's in the confusion that clarity begins to form. The same way a seed has to break before it grows. Our old habits, fears, and doubts often have to be broken before something new can emerge. You may not be where you want to be yet, but that doesn't mean you're off course. You're right where you need to be for something new to take root. Even when you feel unseen, God is doing something behind the scenes. He's arranging people, preparing opportunities, shifting atmospheres. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Just because you can't see the outcome doesn't mean the outcome isn't in motion. Sometimes the silence is part of the preparation. Sometimes the waiting is the training ground for what's next. Don't judge the whole story by one difficult page. Keep turning the page. Keep trusting the timing. Keep believing there's more coming. Keep as there is. You're not disqualified by what you've gone through. You're being equipped. The loss didn't take you out. It woke something up in you. The trial didn't finish your story. It marked the turning point. The sorrow you walked through isn't wasted. It's making room for joy that runs deeper than before. What looks like the end could be the beginning of something you never imagined. And what you learn here will become the light you carry into your next chapter. What you gain here will become the wisdom someone else needs. Nothing you've endured is random. Every lesson, every scar, every time you got back up, it's all being used. When you understand that, it changes how you carry yourself. You stop asking, why me? And you start saying, what now? You begin to walk with confidence. Not because everything is easy, but because you know nothing is wasted. Stop running from the hard moments and start letting them refine you. You begin to see your life not just as a series of random events, but as a carefully written story with purpose woven into every page. And even if you're not where you want to be, you can live with peace. Because the one writing your life doesn't make mistakes. He knows how to turn pressure into purpose, tears into testimony, and obstacles into opening. So don't give up on this story. Don't walk away from the page you're on. A better chapter is already being written, one that will make sense of everything you've been through and more. There are moments when we feel like time is working against us. We pray, we believe, hope, but nothing seems to move. The door stays closed. The opportunity doesn't come. The answer doesn't show up when we expected it to. And in those times, it's easy to feel overlooked, forgotten, or even punished. But just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to. There's a process taking place behind the scenes, and just because you don't see movement doesn't mean progress isn't being made. When a dream is planted in your heart, it rarely comes to life overnight. There's often a space between the promise and the fulfillment, a gap that can feel confusing, discouraging, or even but that space isn't empty. It's not wasted. It's filled with unseen preparation. Just like a seed takes time beneath the soil before it breaks through the ground, your purpose is being nurtured even when you can't feel it. Growth is happening beneath the surface. Think about what happens in a waiting room. You're not there because you're forgotten. You're there because something is being ready. Maybe it's your heart that's being strengthened. Maybe it's your character that's being refined. Maybe it's your surroundings that are being aligned to fit what's coming. If it showed up too early, it might damage you instead of bless you. If you received it before you were ready, it might not last. That waiting period is not an accident. It's an act of love. So many people give up in the delay. They think the silence means rejection. But sometimes the silence is the space where the foundation is being laid. You may not hear applause. You may not get recognition. You may not see confirmation. But every day you stay faithful. Every day you choose to believe. Instead of quit, something is being built. Focus, qualities that can't be rushed or fast-tracked. They're shaped through time, through patience, through trusting even when you don't feel like it. You wouldn't build a skyscraper on a shallow foundation. You wouldn't pour a roof before the walls are strong. The same principle applies to your life. If you've been waiting, it might be because what you're building is bigger than what you imagine. It needs a deeper foundation. It needs stronger support, and that takes time. Don't resent the process. Respect it. Trust that it's doing something inside of you that's necessary for where you're going. Often people see the success of others and wonder why it's taking so long for them. But you don't know what that person had to go through. You don't see their private battles, their lonely nights, their hidden tears, and they don't see yours. But the difference is this: you're still moving forward. You're still believing. You're still standing. That says more about your future than your current position ever could. You're being positioned for more. And it's going to take a little longer to carry what's coming your way. The truth is, anything lasting takes time. A good relationship takes time. A strong business takes time. Healing, wisdom, spiritual growth, they all take time. We live in a world that celebrates instant results, but the things that truly matter don't grow on demand. They're cultivated in quiet. They're watered in faith. They're protected by patience. And when the time is right, they bloom. It's easy to become anxious in the delay, to start asking, what's wrong with me? Or why isn't it happening yet? But the waiting isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's shaping you into the kind of person who can not only receive what you've been believing for, but also sustain it. You don't want something that looks great on the outside, but crumbles because it came too soon. You want something that lasts, that uplifts, that multiplies, that takes a little longer. And while you wait, you're not just passing time, you're growing. You're learning to lean on faith. You're building resilience. You're discovering that peace doesn't come from circumstances. It comes from knowing that your life is in good hands. You're learning to walk with contentment even when the breakthrough hasn't shown up yet. That's not weakness, that's strength, that's maturity. That's proof that the waiting is working. When a caterpillar is in a cocoon, it may look inactive. It may seem like nothing is happening. But inside, transformation is taking place. Wings are forming, strength is developing. And when the time is right, that cocoon will open. Not a second too early, not a moment too late. The same goes for you. There's a process happening in your life. When the season is right, it's gonna open. You won't have to force it. You won't have to manipulate it. It will come together naturally, beautifully, powerfully. So don't despise the delay. Don't get bitter in the waiting. Don't let go of your vision just because it hasn't come to pass on your timeline. Your timeline is limited. His is perfect. When the time comes, you'll understand why. You'll look back and realize that you weren't being held back. You were being held in place for something greater. And all the frustration, all the doubt, all the tears, they'll be overshadowed by the joy of what finally arrives. Life has a way of surprising us. Just when we think we figured out the plan, something changes. Just when we get comfortable, a curveball shows up. Maybe you thought you'd be in a different place by now. Maybe you had it all lined up. The education, the relationship, the business plan, and suddenly it turned a different direction. You didn't see it coming. You didn't expect that diagnosis. You never imagined that person would walk away. You were certain the door was opening only to watch it close. And now you're standing in a place you didn't plan, trying to figure out what happened. But what if the change in direction wasn't the end of the story? What if the sudden detour was exactly what needed to happen to take you where you were truly meant to be? So often, we want a straight path. We want a clear road, no bumps, no bends. But growth doesn't usually happen on straight roads. Destiny rarely unfolds in a straight line. It comes through the winding roads, the unexpected interruptions, the strange shifts that don't make sense in the moment. These are the scenes we didn't write, but they're the ones that make our lives extraordinary. You may have lost something that meant the world to you. Maybe it was your security, your sense of identity, or a dream you held on to for years, and now you wonder how you'll recover. But the setback wasn't meant to end your story. It was a setup. What feels like a plot twist can be the very scene where the turning point begins. It may not be what you wanted, but it could be exactly what you needed to unlock a level of strength, creativity, or purpose you never would have discovered on your own. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come wrapped in confusion. Some of the most powerful chapters begin with questions, not answers. You might not understand why certain things had to shift, but there's a design unfolding beyond your view. Just because the road got rough doesn't mean the journey's over. Some things break only to reveal what's really inside. Some endings aren't losses, they're launches into something new. And the change you didn't ask for might just be the transition that brings you into the life you were meant to live. People may have walked away, but that didn't stop the plan. The opportunity may have slipped through your hands, but it didn't stop the promise. You may have taken a wrong turn, but that didn't cancel your future. Sometimes, what looks like chaos is actually divine redirection. The disappointment isn't permanent. The confusion isn't the final word. There's a thread running through the entire story that you can't always see, but it's connecting everything together. It's easy to have faith when everything is going according to schedule. It's easy to stay positive when the doors open in order. But real trust shows up when the script doesn't make sense. When the scene looks nothing like you imagined. When it feels like everything is falling apart. That's when you have to step back and remember that you're not the one writing the ending. The one who is in control sees the whole picture. You may only see the current frame, but there's a bigger scene in motion, and it's leading to something beautiful. There's no wasted space in a masterpiece. Every shadow, every contrast, every unexpected stroke on the canvas has a purpose. The same is true in your life. The job loss, the betrayal, the lonely season. It might not have been what you would have chosen, but it's doing something. It's revealing what's real. It's making you bolder. It's pushing you to places you never thought you'd go. And when the dust settles, you'll be able to look back and say, I didn't understand it then, but now I see what was happening. Sometimes you have to lose what's good to make room for what's best. Sometimes the change that feels like a failure is the only way to move into freedom. Don't panic when things don't go according to your plan. Your plan was limited. Your vision had blind spots. But you're not depending on your own story alone. There's a higher plan in place. One that turns dead ends into deliverance, mistakes into mercy, and heartbreak into healing. It might look like the odds are against you. It might seem like the ending has already been written. But one twist can change everything. One unexpected connection. One phone call, one open door, and suddenly everything shifts. Suddenly, what didn't make sense starts to take shape. What felt like ruin reveals redemption. It's not too late. You haven't missed your moment. The story isn't finished. Keep moving forward, even when the scene looks dark. Don't stop believing just because the route changed. That new direction could be the best part of the entire journey. That seemed unfair may lead to a joy you never imagined. Stay open. The story still unfolding, and it's not just good. It's going to be greater than anything you could have written yourself. There are times when life convinces us that we're not enough, that our flaws are too many, our past too messy, our failures too frequent. We carry silent shame from things we've done or things done to us, and it lingers like a weight. Maybe someone told you that you weren't valuable. Maybe you were compared your whole life, measured by impossible standards, and made to feel small. Or maybe you're your own harshest critic, constantly replaying what went wrong, constantly second-guessing if you'll ever be more than what you've been through. But you were never meant to live under the shadow of shame. You weren't designed to constantly apologize for who you are. Your identity isn't wrapped in your mistakes. Your worth isn't attached to your imperfections. You are not the sum of what you've done wrong. You are not defined by who walked away. You are not labeled by the season you struggled in, the setbacks, the wrong turns, the broken chapters. They may be a part of your journey, but they are not the conclusion of your story. The truth is, what you've gone through didn't disqualify you.
It shaped you.
Every hard moment, every tear you cried in silence, every fight you had to face just to stay standing, those were not signs of weakness. They were proof of strength. You were being stretched, not broken, forged, not forgotten. And the very things you thought disfigured your future are the things that have positioned you to rise with deeper wisdom, greater compassion, and unshakable endurance. Too many people live life apologizing for being in process. They think because they haven't arrived yet, they're not worthy of walking in confidence. But you don't have to have everything together to have value. You don't need a perfect record to walk in purpose. Just the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still reaching for better. That says more than your past ever could. You're still open to growth. You're still fighting through. Sometimes it takes walking through failure to discover resilience. Sometimes it takes being misunderstood to learn how to stand in your truth. Sometimes it takes being knocked down to realize you had strength you never knew about. You didn't ask for the hardship, but you grew because of it. You didn't want the rejection, but it taught you to love yourself in deeper ways. And every experience, especially the painful ones, has contributed to a transformation that's still unfolding. Don't believe the lie that you have to hide your journey to be accepted. Don't think you have to edit your truth to be worthy. The rough edges, the unresolved parts, the pieces still being healed, those are real, those are human, and they're beautiful. You weren't created to live polished and perfect. You were created to live honest and alive. The world doesn't need another imitation of perfection. It needs the real, raw, powerful testimony of someone who kept going when it would have been easier to quit. You are becoming something rare. Someone who knows how to stand after the fall. Someone who knows what it feels like to be broken and still chooses to love. Someone who has walked through storms and still believes in sunlight. That kind of person can't be mass-produced. That kind of depth can't be bought or taught. It comes from surviving the fire and choosing not to let it burn you down. Maybe the voices of doubt have been louder lately. Maybe comparison has tried to rob your joy. Maybe you've been measuring your progress against someone else's highlight reel and wondering why you feel so far behind. But you're not behind. You're not broken beyond repair. You are right on time. Your path doesn't have to look like anyone else's. The race you're running was tailor-made for you. And the strength you've built along the way is far more valuable than instant success. It's time to stop waiting for approval from others to feel like you're enough. The truth is, you've always been enough. You were enough when you didn't know what you carried. You were enough in the middle of the storm. You were enough when you felt the most unworthy. You were enough when all you could do was survive. And you are enough now, growing, learning, stepping forward one day at a time. What's ahead of you is bigger than what's behind you. And what's inside of you is greater than what tried to stop you. You were born with purpose. You've been carried through every battle for a reason. You are still standing because there's more written for you. More light, more joy, more impact. Don't let the past silence your confidence. Don't let the inner critic steal your voice. You are not here by mistake. You are here by design. And you are being shaped into something stronger than you've ever been. So walk forward boldly even if your steps are shaky. Speak up even if your voice trembles. Keep rising even if you don't feel ready. Because you're not who you used to be. You've come farther than you thought you could. And you're just getting started. There's something powerful about knowing how the story ends. It changes how you handle what's happening right now. If you knew the struggle would lead to triumph, you'd carry the pain differently. If you knew the closed door was opening up a better path, you wouldn't be so anxious. But the truth is, even when we can't see the future, we're not walking blind. There's a plan already set in motion, and it's not headed toward defeat. It's leading to something greater, something bigger than you can see from your current perspective. You may feel like you're stuck in a chapter that doesn't reflect the promise you carry. Maybe you've been praying for change, working toward a dream, staying faithful when it's hard. And yet, it seems like nothing's moving. You wonder if you've been overlooked. If maybe the best has already passed you by. But just because your current situation looks incomplete doesn't mean the outcome isn't already in motion. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean it's not already secured. Some victories begin quietly. Some breakthroughs start as small shifts before the floodgates open. And there's comfort in knowing that the struggles we face are not random. They are not the final destination. They're moments in the middle. You wouldn't stop reading a book in the middle of a cliffhanger and assume it ends in disaster. No, you'd trust that the next page holds the resolution, that the conflict serves a purpose, that the pain is leading somewhere. The same principle applies to your life. You may be living through tension, through uncertainty, through opposition, but the page is still turning. Some people let what they're facing now convince them that it's the end. They let discouragement settle in like a final sentence, like this is how it will always be. But you weren't created to stay in the struggle. You were created to grow through it. What you're facing now is temporary. It's not a permanent condition. It's a season, and seasons shift. You may not know how or when, but you can rest knowing that you won't stay where you are. You weren't brought this far to be abandoned now. There's more working for you than against you. Just because you don't feel strong today doesn't mean strength isn't being built. Just because the doors haven't opened doesn't mean they're locked forever. Delay is not defeat. Resistance is not the same as rejection. And darkness doesn't cancel the sunrise. It just means light is on the way. Hold steady. Take heart. Something is coming that will shift the atmosphere. The process might be stretching you, but it's also preparing you. It might be testing your faith, but it's also training your endurance. It's in the waiting that you develop the foundation for what's ahead. It's in the tension that your character is formed. You may not feel like you're growing, but something is happening deep within. Your capacity is expanding. Your roots are going deeper. And when the shift happens, you'll be ready, not just to receive it, but to sustain it. Success is all about talent or timing, but real breakthrough is often about resilience, about continuing to show up when it's hard, about staying faithful when nothing changes, about refusing to give up on what you know was planted in your spirit, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. That kind of faith is rare. That kind of perseverance is powerful. And it positions you for a future that's already secure. Sometimes we expect victory to look dramatic, to show up suddenly with signs and clarity. But often, it starts quietly, with peace in the middle of chaos, with joy that doesn't make sense, with a heart that chooses to believe before the evidence appears. That kind of confidence doesn't come from circumstances. It comes from knowing something greater is in control. from trusting that the end result is being directed by a hand that never fails. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to manipulate the outcome. Your job is to stay faithful, to keep walking, to keep believing, even when the winds blow, even when the answers are slow, even when the path gets narrow. Because while you're walking, things are shifting. While you're believing, things are aligning. While you're waiting, pieces are coming together that you can't even see yet. You are not fighting for victory. You're walking from a place of confidence that the outcome is secure. That changes how you think. That changes how you respond to challenges. That gives you the strength to stand when you want to sit, to speak when you want to stay silent, to try again when you feel like giving up. Because something inside you knows this isn't the conclusion, it's just the climb. And the higher you go, the greater the view. Don't let fear write the ending. Don't let doubt narrate your story. Don't let disappointment tell you it's over. What's ahead of you still carries hope, still carries healing, still carries answers. You haven't missed your moment. You haven't lost your place. Keep your head up, your spirit strong, and your eyes forward. The story is still moving, and the next chapter might just be the one you've been waiting for. Sometimes life feels like a draft that doesn't make sense. There are gaps, confusing scenes and characters that come and go without warning. You might look at your circumstances and wonder how all of this could possibly come together. Things started off well, and then something shifted. Maybe your plans took a hit. Maybe your emotions are all over the place. Maybe what you believed would last forever slipped through your hands. And now, you're left standing in a chapter that feels incomplete, and you don't know what's coming next. That's a difficult place to be, between where you've been and where you're going, stuck in the unknown. Temptation in that space is to start doubting everything. Doubting your decisions, doubting your direction, doubting your worth. It's easy to think that maybe you've messed everything up, that maybe you've missed your moment, your window, your chance. But that's not the truth. What looks like an unfinished mess, from your point of view, might already be a masterpiece in progress from a higher one. You don't have to understand everything to keep going. Some scenes only make sense in hindsight. You don't need all the answers today to know that your journey still has value. Just because this season is uncertain doesn't mean it's wasted. Some of the most important development happens in the moments where nothing feels certain. In those seasons, trust becomes more than a concept. It becomes a lifeline. There will be times when you're doing everything right and still not seeing the results. When you're giving your best and it feels like it's not enough. When you've prayed, waited, and nothing changes. Those are the moments that test your foundation. Will you still move forward even when you don't feel momentum? Will you still believe there's more ahead when all you see is a wall in front of you? That's where something deeper than motivation has to carry you. That's where faith steps in, not blind, but bold. Every great story has tension. Every strong character faces trials. The most powerful narratives aren't built on comfort. They're built on how someone chooses to respond when everything is uncertain. You may feel, you've been in a long chapter that hasn't let up, like your breakthrough is taking longer than it should. But it's not over yet. And if you give it time, the pieces will come together. The lines will connect. What was once confusing will become clear. You'll see how that detour led you to protection. How that loss opened up a new lane. How that slow season helped you discover a part of yourself you didn't know was there. Patience is hard when you can't see the plane, especially when you're surrounded by noise. People moving faster, others appearing more successful, timelines that make you feel behind. But you're not. You're being held, refined, equipped in ways you don't even recognize yet. Some people arrive early and burn out fast. Others arrive on time and are built to last. What's being developed in you is not a rushed moment, but a long-lasting purpose. You don't have to force your way into what's meant for you. You don't have to manipulate outcomes, chase approval, or live with anxiety about what's next. You can release the pressure of performing and step into a quiet confidence, not because you have everything figured out, but because you know you're being guided. When you walk with that kind of trust, storms may come, but they won't shake you the same way. Delays may happen, but they won't break your spirit. You'll start to walk with a peace that doesn't depend on results, a calm that doesn't come from control. There is a bigger picture you can't yet see. What feels incomplete now may be the foundation of something much greater than you imagine. Maybe the answer hasn't arrived yet because the situation needed time to mature. Maybe your heart needed healing first. Maybe the right opportunity needed more time to align. The delay is not a sign of abandonment. It's a sign that the timing is being perfected, so keep showing up. Keep doing the small things with excellence. Keep praying, believing, loving, forgiving, and hoping, even when it's quiet. Especially when it's quiet. That's where strength is formed. That's where character is refined. That's where the deepest shifts happen. And you'll look back one day and realize this season wasn't a break in the story. It was the turning point. You're not walking aimlessly. You're not floating without direction. There is a hand on your life that knows where this is going. You may not see it now, but nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is left unfinished without a purpose. The same one who brought you this far isn't going to leave the story hanging. There's a conclusion coming that will make sense of the confusion, restore what you thought was lost, and exceed what you even dared to imagine. So breathe. Rest in the process. Even when the script looks scrambled, something divine is being composed. Even when your emotions tell you it's over, purpose is still unfolding. This chapter is not the final word. And when the last page turns, it won't just reflect survival, it will reflect glory. So wherever you are right now, whether you're in the middle of a storm, at the edge of a breakthrough, or just trying to make sense of a confusing season, I want to remind you of something important. Your life is not, you're not forgotten. You are not stuck. This journey you're on has been carefully crafted, and each moment, each twist, each delay is part of something bigger, something beautiful. You may not understand the chapter you're in, but that's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out to be moving forward. Just because you don't see the whole picture doesn't mean it's not coming together. The moments that feel like setbacks, the parts of your life that felt like mistakes are being redeemed into miracles. The silence you've endured isn't a void. It's a pause before the next scene unfolds. There is purpose in your pain, struggle, and hope in your... And that hope is not misplaced. You weren't created to live in fear, shame, or uncertainty. You were created to rise, to overcome, to walk with boldness through even the darkest valleys. You were created to reflect light even when life feels dim. And no matter what has happened so far, the story isn't over. What looks like an ending is often the beginning of something new. You may feel like you're in a chapter that doesn't fit your dreams, but don't close the book too early. The author knows exactly what he's doing. He hasn't forgotten the promise. He hasn't overlooked your faithfulness. He hasn't skipped over your prayers. Every moment is leading to something more. So take heart today. Keep turning the page. Keep showing up with courage, even when you feel uncertain. Keep trusting, not because you have every answer, but because you know who's writing your story. You're not finished. You're being formed. You're not lost. You're being led. And when it all comes together, when the full story unfolds, it will be more beautiful, more powerful, and more meaningful than you could have ever written on your own. This is not the end. It's just the beginning. Keep going. The best is still being written.